When I say the name Alfred Hitchcock, what do you think of first? Suspense? Thriller? Murder, maybe?
There, that's much better. What a lovely evening.
To be honest, I would say slow-paced, talky movies. But whatever you end up saying, he has been coined as the master of suspense. And to be fair to him, the sheer amount of films that he has made kind of backs that title up. Alfred Hitchcock was born in Leytonstone, Essex, England, right at the turn of the century, so 1899. He broke into the film industry in the year 1920 with the famous Players Lasky studio in London, and he worked there as a title card editor for silent films. And then as he was at the studio, he started doing other jobs like writer, assistant editor, etc. And then with that, he was able to work his way up into director. The very first film he worked on was in 1923 with Alma Revell. It was called Number 13, and she's very important because not only was she a creative collaborator that he would work with again and again, he also got married to her. So that's kind of cool. So between the years 1923 and 1939, he directed The Pleasure Garden, The Lodger, Blackmail, Downhill, Waltzes from Vienna, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Jamaica Inn, The 39 Steps, and The Lady Vanishes. Then in 1939, Alfred Hitchcock, his wife Alma, and their daughter packed up and moved to Hollywood. So, from 1940 to 1955, he made Rebecca, Suspicion, Shadow of a Doubt, Lifeboat, Spellbound, Notorious, Rope, Stage Fright, and Rear Window. In 1955, he made the anthology TV show called Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which is basically a bunch of little episodes about like a drama, a thriller, or a mystery. He didn't direct every single one because there was 267 of those episodes, but he directed like about 20 of them. And because he was hosting this TV show and everybody saw his face so much, he started to gain recognition. People started to know what he looked like. He also was on lots of TV interviews, and he did a lot of cameos in his own films. So audiences just knew what he looked like and started to know him as a director, which was new because mostly directors stay behind the camera and away. Nobody really knows what they look like. But Alfred, no, not him. He wanted to be known. Anyway, the TV show ran from 1955 to 1965, but Alfred Hitchcock kept making feature films. So, from 1955 to 1980, which was the year of his death, he made To Catch a Thief, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, The Birds, and Family Plot. And while I was flashing all of those posters at you, if you could notice, there was some common names, including Cary Grant, Grace Kelly, and James Stewart. These were notable stars that Alfred Hitchcock worked with a lot. Our first movie that we're going to be looking at today is called Rear Window, which was made in 1954. The basic plot, Jeff is a photographer that got hit by a car while trying to get that 1-in-a-million shot, causing him to be stuck in a wheelchair with a broken leg. In his bored state at home, he peers into the windows of all the apartments across the courtyard from him and basically just watches what they're doing. He and his girlfriend Lisa, while watching through the windows, suspect that a man has murdered his wife. So the first common theme here that Alfred Hitchcock is going to use is, of course, suspense. The main reason for that suspense is that Jeff believes that the man has murdered his wife. But he can really do nothing about it. He can't physically go over there because he's stuck in a wheelchair. And it's not like he's a detective or a police officer, so Lisa initially did not believe Jeff. She did not think that the guy across the street was a murderer, but eventually she realizes he might be, and the suspense builds as a result because then she and Jeff's nurse, Stella, get involved in the investigation and physically go over there to try and find evidence. But Lisa goes a little too far. She trespasses into the guy's house, and he finds her in there. She gets assaulted and almost gets thrown into jail, so very suspenseful. We never know what's going to happen until the end. Another common plot device that Alfred uses is blonde women and sexuality/romance. So, of course, Lisa Fremont, which is Jeff's girlfriend, is a blonde woman. Additionally, the pretty woman that Jeff looks at outside his window and gawks at all the time is also a blonde woman. Alfred Hitchcock almost exclusively uses blonde women as his heroines, and often objectifies a lot of these blonde women, and women in general, to be honest. Reoccurring shots that are used are wide shots, and depending on which movie you're watching, there is more panning sometimes and less panning other times, but there's always a wide shot. For Rear Window, there was a lot more panning in the wide shots than in the other movie, but we'll get to that later. There are the static shots where characters move in and out of the frame and the frame itself stays locked. There's the track in or zoom in where there's epiphany, a secret revealed, or a very intense emotional moment. And of course, his signature long takes. Very, very, very long takes. Okay, that's enough. That's good. Our second movie that we're going to be looking at is called The Birds, 1963. So in this movie, a San Francisco socialite named Melanie Daniels pursues a potential boyfriend named Mitch to a small northern California town. She does so by bringing him some lovebirds from a store in the city where they initially had met. The people of the small town, which is called Bodega Bay, slowly start noticing birds of many different species acting off and sick. This includes crows, seagulls, chickens, lots of birds. Soon after, birds start attacking and killing people all over the town, and it really gets out of hand. It's a freak of nature, basically. Now, of course, the suspense present in this movie surrounds the well-being of the main characters. Will the birds end up killing them? Will they be able to escape? The threat of the birds keeps everybody on their toes, including the audience, because we're very worried if these people are going to make it out alive. When it comes to the plot device of blonde women and sexuality, again, our heroine is blonde. Additionally, the only reason Melanie is in Bodega Bay was to get with Mitch. Hitchcock used the common theme of romance as the inciting incident to the story. So, without it, she wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be experiencing these crazy birds. I'd also like to note here that whenever Melanie is in distress, in fear, or actively being killed, she does it in a way that's almost like trying to be pretty at the same time, which I feel is also objectifying of women, because why is she trying to look pretty while she's actually dying? Just listen to her in this scene, okay? And tell me he's not trying to make her look hot at the same time. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but it's weird. It's weird. Nobody dies like that, bro. Anyway, our reoccurring shots in The Birds are the wides again. This time, minimal panning, not like Rear Window. Static shots where characters move in and out of the frame, and the frame itself is locked. Not a lot of track ins, but many close-ups are used for the same effect of that emotional moment of secret reveal or an epiphany. And very long takes again. Alfred Hitchcock loves long takes, bro. Again, I'll just play a little bit of this one so you can see. Now, I get why he does these long takes and uses all the stylistic choices that he does. He's doing it to build suspense. In my opinion, though, it's way too drawn out, and maybe that's because I'm a modern audience and this was made in the 1960s. But for our standards now, I think it's just too long and too boring. And I'm so sorry, Alfred Hitchcock, but that's how I feel. In real terms, though, the groundwork that he laid in the thriller genre cannot be overlooked just because modern audiences like me are no longer at this slow pace. The formula that he laid out to create good suspense still works today, and I will leave you with some of his wisdom that you can use in your own work. Hopefully, though, at a faster pace.
4 people are sitting around a table, talking about baseball, whatever you like. 5 minutes of it, very dull. Suddenly, a bomb goes off, blows the people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information that in 5 minutes' time that bomb will go off. Now the conversation about baseball becomes very vital because they're saying to you, don't be ridiculous, stop talking about baseball, there's a bomb under there. You've got the audience working. Now the only difference is, although I've been guilty of, in the picture sabotage, of making this error, but I've never made it since, the bomb must never go off. Because if you do, you work that audience into a state, and then they'll get angry because you haven't provided them with any relief. And that's almost a must. So a foot touches the bomb, somebody looks down and says, my God, a bomb, out of the window, then it goes off, just in time.